Sign up now at elevate.miami.edu for my course, Organized Rhyme.
Looking at the word legacy, while involving some wordplay, I'll use the first syllable to build upon. We'll use the first syllable, leg. For the second syllable, we'll use an. And for the third syllable, we'll use the word knee. So now we have leg and knee. Can we use it in context with legacy? Let's just see.
Wordsworth Productions with a S.com for all merch. I got 2 books available right now. Well, Words Are Worth Volume 1, and I also have a children's book called Socks. Age range from 12 to 15, so it's kind of like the middle school and high school age range, but adults can read it as well. What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of What Words Are Worth. And today I got a guest for you that's a producer and a rapper. And it's hard to get that combination sometimes, and that they're dope in both ways of doing it. And so today I got for you Tzarizm. If you know Tzarizm, he's been able to produce tracks for people like myself, MidaZ the BEAST, a lot of other people, especially in that Orlando area out in Florida and across the nation. If you got a Tzarizm track, you know it's funky. You know it got some dope cuts in it, or it got a dope sample in it, dope loop in it. Whatever the case, you know it's dope coming from Tzarizm. So today we're going to talk to him about producing, writing songs, what's some of his tips to the trade. How does he get it done and be so dope? Let's go. So welcome to the stage, Tzarizm. Let's get it.
What's up, brother?
Yo, man. Yo, I want to say, I've known you for a minute, and you know, I met you a while ago, but it was more so me rhyming on songs with you, more so, right? And then
Yeah,
I didn't realize how dope the production was as well, like how much you were doing the beats. I don't even know if I knew you did the beats at the time, as opposed to just like rhyming on the record with you too. But
right.
you know, it was dope because then later on we started doing like more than one song together. Yo, you send me the beat, I rhyme on it. So we got like songs that's out there lingering and everything. But
Which we
man,
about to talk about those.
yeah, man. So I just want to big you up for how dope you are. You know, I talked about how you do stuff for MidaZ and all these other artists out there. And the reason I have this show is to hopefully shine more light on people that's dope like you, because that's how I remain dope. So I'm excited.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me. That's dope, man. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So let's start off with the name. Where'd you get the name from?
Whew. All right. Well, you know, I say what, mid-90s. You know, I've been rhyming since I was about 11. So, you know, that's early 90s. And, you know, rhyming just for fun, you know, freestyling and stuff like that. Nothing serious, of course. I'm 11 years old, so it was whatever. But around the mid-90s, when I started to like get into more writing than just like free flowing, freestyling and stuff like that, I had a couple of rap names that me and my little crew, which are like childhood friends that are friends of mine to this day. We had a crew called the Strangers, and it was originally 4 of us. Actually 7, but we ain't gonna talk about the other 3. They, you know, it's not worth mentioning. But the 4 core members was myself, my man Phantom Shino, my man Maven, the Maven, and then my younger brother Nemo, who goes by I Make Mad Beats today. So
Super dope.
yeah, so like, oh snap, yeah. So what happened? So basically, my brother Nemo and I were like, we wanted to up our game on our names because we had some whack names back in the day. His name was like Creepo, mine was like Quick Draw, or something crazy, something just whatever. I had a name called Bum Rush, Quick Draw the Bum Rush Kid. That was my full rap name at some point. So I was like, nah. So literally, we was sitting there, and we had just discovered making beats. Like I remember this. This was actually the winter of '96. We had just discovered making beats through my cousin O.T.H.E.R, and we are like, man, we gotta change these names. So he told me to look up his name and find a name, and he did the same for me. So I looked up and I saw Nemesis, and I was like, Nemesis Enforcer, which is like G.I. Joe and some other stuff going on. So I was like, he was like, yeah. So then we shortened that to Nemo later. But he saw
Wow.
Czar, and the meaning of Czar I was all about. It was like emperor, king, like all that. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I am. So I was like, that's what I am with the raps. He was like, yeah. But see, what was cool is, the traditional spelling of Czar is probably with CZAR
Yeah.
or CR, right? But they had they showed all the different types of spelling alternatives, and one of them had a T. So I was like, all right, well, my first name is Tarek, so I gravitated towards T. And so TZAR, I like that spelling a lot more, and I just went with that. So that's that. And then just short story about Tzarism, how it became ism. Honestly, that
Yeah.
was just one of my homeboys back like maybe 4 years later. So when I moved to Florida in '98, one of my homeboys, rest in peace, Region, he passed away last year.
Mhm.
He was part of a rap
Condolences.
group that took me in when I first moved to Florida. And every time he would see me, he'd be like, "Yo, Zarism," like I'm some sort of like element or something like that. And I loved it. Like I was like, yeah. So then I just kind of like started saying it in songs, and then eventually I just adapted it as like my full name Zarism because of the whole MC producer being the element side. So just a little that behind it. But that's pretty much how the name came about.
Can you give me like a little bit of like, I guess, history about I guess you grow up in the Orlando area and some of the people that you produce? Can you just run down a little bit of the people you produce?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually born in Riverside, California. So as a child, up to my first 3 to 4 years, I believe, I lived in California. My father was in the Air Force, so he was in the military, so that's where he was based. But my father is born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. So he met my mother, and my mother's from Guyana. So when
Okay.
they got together and all that good stuff, um, I came about, and then my brother came about a little bit less than 2 years later. So we both were born in California, but eventually my pops wanted to go back to Memphis and bring us with him. So after he got out of the Air Force, we moved back to Memphis, where I was around a lot more family. So I pretty much grew up in Memphis when my parents split, which was only like
Yeah.
2 or 3 years later. My mom, she most of her family and most of her roots as far as family members and everything lived up north, between like DC, Maryland, New York, specifically Long Island, Brooklyn. So when she moved up there, we would visit her during the summers.
Dope.
So it was pretty much a tradition every year. I'm at school in Memphis, and then I take a flight over to my mom's, whether she was in DC, whether she was in Long Island, whatever. And so that's kind of where I got, I think my sense of hip hop was during those summers, to be honest. I always loved music, but the type of music that I was attracted to and that inspired me was definitely the music from up north, in the specifically New York and DC, like that. So
So then how
so
you
that's kind of, yeah.
Orlando, right? And then where's
Oh yeah. Where Orlando
yeah.
come So Orlando came after when I graduated from high school. My mother had just moved to Florida a year before that, so we're talking about like I don't know, like '97 or something like that.
Mhm.
And originally, my plan was to graduate from high school and then go live with my mother in New York, and go to the same college you graduated from, Old Westbury, right?
Wow.
That was
Okay.
the original plan, actually, and my brother actually ended up going to Westbury. So, But that was the original plan. But then she switched up and decided to move to Florida because there was like a migration of family members that were moving south. And you know, and those, you know, people from New York, there's a connection with New York and Florida. Like there's this thing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Move back and forth, vacation, summer, whatever. So that was what was happening. And so I decided, you know what, I'll just go to school in Florida when she moved down there. Knew nothing about Florida. I knew nothing about it. So it was just it was a culture shock moving to Florida, to be honest. It was completely
Yeah.
different. Everything from the women to for everything. Like it was crazy different from what I experienced. So I went to school. Um, with the first week, I went to a community college. It's called Seminole State College now, but it was
Right.
Seminole Community College back in the day. And met who's considered one of my best friends to this day. My man Rugged. We were freestyling outside of a class, you know, probably missing class, and we were like, "Yo, you dope, you dope. What's up? What's up?" Like, and then we like within like a few days, he came to the crib. I played him some of the beats I was playing. He's like, "Yo, that's what's up." We just started recording. So that was kind of the starting beginnings musically, and my roots starting in Orlando. And ever since then, which that was like '98. Um,
Man.
yeah, I'm basically a Floridian, and I've been
Right.
there ever since, you know. I moved to New York for you know, for a few years for a little stint, but then I came back and, you know, it's Florida to the probably to the end at this point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's how Orlando came in the mix. Those first couple of years in Orlando, I was the hungriest MC ever. I was going to every open mic. I was trying to find this and that. Eventually, I was looking for beat competitions, and so if I wasn't winning them, I was in the top 3 of everything. So it just kind of built my confidence and built me up the buzz locally until eventually I started deciding to not just show up, but actually make music. So I made my first album, which became kind of like a local like staple,
Right.
and all that good stuff. And the buzz started from there. And that was around 2003, like when that was happening. So at that point, I really like, kind of like put my roots down in Orlando.
So let's get into, this creative process of yours. So where we at today with the writing the rhymes, man? We writing them on the paper, we writing them, in the mind, computer, phone. What we doing, man? What we doing today, man?
So man, no more paper, man.
Paper.
And I have rhyme books, books of compositions, like stacks. But eventually, man, I lost a few. And I was just like, I wasn't feeling that. But around the era of like sidekicks, you remember
Yeah,
those?
yeah.
You
Oh,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
for sure.
Around that era, I started writing on those because now you got the QWERTY and now you can like just type, and I would save them on like whatever document, notepad or something like that. So
That's
that was
early, man. That's
yeah,
super early, writing the rhymes and
yeah, that was
sidekick.
like
Early.
man, that was like mid late 2000s, like like
Yeah.
2006, 2007 or something like that. So I still typed on the computer, using like Word, Microsoft Word, but ever since Google Documents came a thing, it's been a wrap. So I still got all my raps saved on Google Docs from way back over a decade plus. So that's really where I go to. I pull up Google Docs. I can do it on my phone or on the computer if I'm in the lab, just type in it, and I feel very comfortable. I can leave it. It saves automatically. So it's all about that now. Google Docs.
So what about all these composition books that you have? What's gonna happen with those? Any plans?
Honestly, they just like time capsules for me right now. A good amount of the raps I probably eventually I know there were some raps in there that I
Okay,
actually typed out and made
okay,
like new versions of them. I'd improve
dope.
some of the lyrics and like I'm like, what was I thinking there? And rewrite it. So some of them got used, and then some of them honestly were just trash. Like like I wouldn't put them out on a song today, but you know how it is. You got some stuff on
Yeah, yeah. People talking to people on here, you got people with different views of it, people converting them in the doc, some people
yeah.
keeping them in the book, people doing art with them and stuff like that. So once you got all these bars and things like that, to write these bars, are you writing them in the studio or like when you go out and about? Like if you got to go to somebody's house, do you prefer to write there or at home?
I would say if my preference personally was to um write it in my where I'm comfortable. So if I'm at the crib. Um when I was younger though, I didn't care. I would just write wherever. I think I was just that. But then when I started to really dig into um like what is the best situation for me to write and get the best
Yeah,
out of me, I'd rather be in my own like space and just vibe out without any like so-called pressures of time or restraints
right.
and all that stuff. So, but I mean, it didn't matter. I could write and be fine in any situation. But I would say when I was younger, it was just like I could write anywhere, but I'd rather be at the crib. Um, and yeah, I just kind of just feel like that. But it also depends who I was with too. So
Yeah,
if it was,
yeah, that happens too, right? You could be with your boys and then it's like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a little pressure too.
yeah, a little pressure, which I got to give a shout out to my squad. My dockside brothers for life, starting with my boy Rugged. I mean, of course, Nemo, my cousin O.T.H.E.R, my boy Amin. Um, you know what I'm saying? I already mentioned Rugged. My man Exodus from back in the day. It was a whole bunch of us. We were bars heavy rappers, like I wouldn't be able to do what I do on a level of writing if it wasn't for them. Like,
Right.
they kept me on my toes, like heavily. So that part I do appreciate when I'm in that environment because we kept each other on our toes. When we did posse tracks or tracks with all of us on it, everybody was like, "Oh, what you just wrote? What you got? All right, okay, okay." And now I gotta make sure my pen is straight is good, and on the next bar and make sure I try to like out bar, but like honorably. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, so did you prefer when it was all of y'all in there though at times, or you prefer to like be by yourself?
honestly, man, I miss those times.
Mm.
I don't know if it's the right thing to say. Like maybe I took it for granted now that I'm thinking about it, but those were some great times being in the lab with your guys.
No
Um,
responsibilities. Nobody really, everybody had jobs but could still come out late. And
exactly. Up
some
2
people had
a.m.
nobody had no job, and we
No,
just
yeah,
out there all
yeah,
night, 2 a.m. in the morning, and all we care about is your girl and making music and writing and all of that. Yeah, no responsibilities, man.
nah, no kids to worry about taking to school. All that stuff.
And
Um,
an occasional cipher somewhere. No more
yeah,
ciphers on the corners. When the last
yeah.
time you walked somewhere and you saw somebody like rhyming in a circle?
It's been a long time, bro. Long time, man. Like,
So,
and that was our tradition. We used to
right.
go downtown every weekend, Orange Avenue in Central, downtown Orlando, and we would group up. People knew to find us there almost every Saturday night, and we would do that. If we're not ciphering, we're either promoting the show or we just there, building and having fun. But those times are long gone. But so I miss those days, but currently, yeah, in my own setting, um,
How about
honestly,
how about nighttime? Day nighttime, you know,
over time.
like
Oh, for
like
me,
you're sitting right now, your room, you got like the ambience with the light, the ambiance with the light and all that. What do you prefer? Dim room, lighted, you know what I'm saying?
definitely them. I try to black out my room when I can, and I had to change a little bit, but I'm a night owl, so I like to write at night. Like, I think of like the prime time that I'm really getting into it is usually close to 11 p.m. when I'm like, okay, everything is let down, but I'm also a family man now, so I be getting tired.
Right.
So I had to adjust. But if it was up to me and I could control it, I would say nighttime is easily the best time for me. Lights would be off. It'll be darker than what it is in here right now. It'd just be just chilling with maybe a little neon light on and stuff like that, and that's it. But and I'll just be chilling, like writing, just let the music on loop, just sit
I was
here,
gonna
think
say
about
that. I was gonna ask you that question too about the looping aspect.
Mm.
Are you letting it loop like constantly, or you know, because that's what I'm hearing too. People's different techniques of they'll let it loop for a little while, but after a while they gotta turn that beat off. Like it's in
Mm.
their mind already, or do you
Yeah.
just gotta stay on?
Well, as a producer rapper, I think it's a little different for me because I mean, I guess I could say statistically, I've probably rapped on a lot of my own production, right?
Mm.
Or my crew's production, because we have producers in our squad too. And in that case, can't see it, but I got my MPC right here. So it's literally just play and just let it roll, right? I can set up the sequence and just let it roll. And if I feel like I'm tired of something, I'll drop it, out, just to hear like just the bass line with the drums or something like that. So I have more control of what I hear in that instance. And so it does loop and eventually it just evolves. Now, sometimes I will craft the beat to as I'm writing at the same time. Like I
Oh wow.
literally, yeah, like okay, I just wrote 8 bars and I want this to drop at that bar. I'll take it out as I'm writing it and put the space for the hook while I'm doing this. Which is part of my comfortability of being in the lab. I could do that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
so it's a little
this
different.
I love that because stuff like that. Some people I never even thought about doing that, so it's dope to hear that. And then how long does it take for you to write the verse or a song? So what's that like for you?
So I'm a slow writer. Um, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I don't be knocked like my man MidaZ. This dude is like
I know this guy. I spoke to him the other day, man. I spoke to him the other day. He was on some like, yo, 45 minutes. I got a joint done in 45. I was like, what? 45? What are you talking about?
he's
He's
not
like,
lying.
yeah, 45 minutes. I was like, come on, man, 45 minutes. You
Uh,
know, I could I think I could, but is it
yeah,
gonna be fire? I
right.
don't know. You know what I'm saying? But his joints, he mastered it. So I let him, yeah, I let him rock with his style, the way he do it. You know what I'm saying? So what about you as far as what's the I guess the time frame of a verse, you know?
If to knock out a verse, I would say like that I'm satisfied with,
Yeah.
um, at least probably a couple hours. Like for me, I'm slow. So if I'm forced to, like, let's say I'm in a studio setting and we got like an hour left, you know what I'm saying? Like of time
Right.
or whatever the case was. Yeah, of course. But I know that I'll probably like afterwards be like, man, I could have added this line in, or I should have said something like this, or switched it up. I could have added this little, or tweak this or tweak that. It would have messed me. You know how artists are. We always tend to feel like
Yeah.
we can improve it. So, but sometimes you just got to let it go. Whatever what it is, it is. Which I'm learning more to do than when I was younger. But if I could
So
control, it's gonna be take like 2.5 hours for sure.
so the verse, that's a verse. What about a song?
A song could take a week for me, like,
Okay.
but because most of the time I do songs that I control the music, I control
Yeah.
the production, control the mix.
And you're
So
doing that simultaneously too. So you're like
yeah,
changing the drum. So you're juggling both things in your mind at the same time, which is kind of wild too. You're there,
yeah,
write a ball, and
right.
then you're switching mind frames, which is kind of ill.
It's crazy. I love it. It's a gift and a curse sometimes, because I cannot go into full rapper mode anymore. Like
Mm,
when I always reference MidaZ because he's a full rapper in that sense, but I can't go into full rapper mode where if I just want to just be able to just bar out and not worry about the music, it's so hard for me to tune that out. So I tend to write with production in mind. That's just my mindset now. And it's just that marriage, for better for worse. But because of that, it could take me longer to be satisfied with what I write. So that's why I say, yeah, a verse, couple of hours maybe, but a full song, I might spend a couple of hours tonight, like writing that verse, and then I'm sleeping. I'm going to bed, and I'm thinking of whatever, wake up, whatever, got some ideas. If I can get back in the lab, nothing family related is happening, then I'll go back in the lab. I'll listen to the verse, make sure it's good. All right, cool. Let me see if I can write another verse or whatever. Um,
right.
and then I'll try to do that for a couple more hours. Um, and then so I'll knock that out. And what I'll do is I'll probably export that. I need to make sure I always have to have a whip session. So I always throw it in the whip, ride for a little bit, and see how it sound, how it feel. And then if I'm good with it, I'm good with it. If not, I back to the lab, tweak some things, whatever, change some bars or whatever the case is, or change the production because that's part of the creativity for me. And then eventually, if there's a hook or anything involved, I'll throw that in, or any extra little things like sounds and this and that. So to me, it's hard um to just get a song done and knock it out like in a one setting.
Yeah.
I used to do that a lot. I did back in my early 20s, mid 20s. I would knock a whole song out within like 2 or 3 hours. Um, and that would include making the beat. Like I'll make the beat, write to it, lay it, song is done. Like, but also, I've improved with mixing and all that stuff, all the intricacies. So it's more detailed now. So it could take me a week to honestly to finish a full song, if it
And
was up to me.
yeah, so the thing about like your writing style,
Mhm.
like I have you on my album, I think my second, so Mirror Music, I got him rhyming on, I believe Vendetta, rhyming with me
Yeah.
and Vendetta. And then we got songs and stuff we done together. To me, from hearing your style, I would say it's like unassuming of knowing what you're gonna do. Like, you
Mm.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, you'll be rhyming about something. It could be a topic. If it's a topic, you'll come plain as day, but you don't mind going left with it, with an
Mm.
idea. You know what I'm
True.
saying? You don't mind like throwing something in there that's not easy to catch, and then you're able to find a good balance with rhyming. That's what I like about listening to you. I know I'm not getting a verse that's just totally abstract, and then I'm
Right.
not getting the verse that's just totally, easy to just get.
Yeah.
So able to just kind of figure out the mix of that. How did
Mm.
you decide like this is Tzarizm style? It's a
Mm.
mix of this artist because we all got pieces of artists in us. How did you
Yeah,
figure out
absolutely.
what is Tzarizm?
Man, I would say early on, if I were to go back and listen to my early stuff, um, I feel like my heavy influences to my style earlier on was somewhere between like a Redman and um man, a Redman, probably a Redman. That was probably my first favorite rapper, right?
Right,
Um and but then I would take little things from like even a Busta Rhymes. So like if you listen to like some of my earlier stuff, I loved ad libs. I love hype little points to come in and out,
right,
and you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. So also when I was younger, I was way more animated, right? But then eventually my lyricism, I guess style or whatever, matured a bit.
right,
And that was from studying a little bit more deeper in rappers like Nas, for instance. Whereas, I bought an album like Illmatic. That was my third or fourth purchase I've ever had in music was Illmatic. Just to throw it out there,
yeah,
my first four tapes that I ever bought with my own money was in no particular order. It was Illmatic,
yep,
Into the 36 Chambers,
okay,
Midnight Marauders,
okay,
and why am I tripping? Oh, Gangstar, Hard to Earn, right? So
okay, okay. Hold on.
yeah.
That explains the pieces to the puzzle.
Oh yeah.
Of you. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you said the 36 chambers, so you can go in that bag a little bit there with the lyricism of that,
mhm,
kind of maybe street poetic and kind of deep, and
yeah,
then you can keep it like Nas is dope because he's very on surface with he know what he's saying instantly, but it still
yeah,
blows your mind. So
absolutely.
um so hearing all those parts now it makes that's why I love hearing when people describe, yo, I used to listen to this and that, and then I go, okay, now you make sense. Now how you sound makes sense to me. So
Indeed, man.
okay,
Yeah,
cool, cool.
those are my 4, like, if I was on an island, like, those would be the 4 albums that I would be totally fine with listening to forever, right? So I got little pieces of all those albums, and, I'm gonna throw in a 5th, which
Okay.
was not I didn't buy, but was given to me because I begged my cousin to give it to me, and that was What the Album by Redman, right? So, and then I eventually, got There's a Dark Side on my own. I'm a big Redman fan, by the way. So a little bit of everything there is what kind of made me who I am. So like I take a little bit of this and that. So from Red Band to me, it was, I think what everybody can assume, it like the punchlines, the wittiness, right? And just how confident he would say it, right? So that was that. I took bits from Nas, of course, which was those street stories, like and being so savvy with the way he tells it. So the storytelling to me is what I got from Nas. Um, and from Midnight Marauders, which is that's one of my favorite albums of all time. It was it was the cohesiveness of the sound, right? The fact that I wasn't going back and forth like a Fife and a Q-Tip, but they were consistent. These dudes weren't super lyricists, but they were consistent with their sound. So I took that from that. And then what else we got? 36. Honestly, that probably was a big part of my taste of music, the sound behind it. We've been rocking for a long time, so you've heard a lot of my production.
I was gonna say I want make sure you got to speak, say what you got to say, but I was gonna say when you said Midnight Marauders, I was gonna say that reminds me of those smooth tracks you do that still are funky and jazzy. Like I've heard that czar, and then I get like a vendetta czar and like heavy
beat. Drums is hard.
Drums is crazy. So it's so many aspects of your production. So when you said Midnight Marauders, I was like, okay, I've heard that production chamber with that. You know what I'm saying? But I've also heard the rambunctious side of you. So that's why when hearing you rhyme, you can get either one. So just you know what I'm saying? And you're not predictable about what you're coming with on it. That's the other thing I've noticed, like rhyming and doing songs with you. Like I can get like a vendetta czar, and then I can get a czar that's just gonna tell a story smooth. And then like you know what I'm saying? So I love that's why I love like listening to all of y'all and everybody, because it's just like, man, we all get to listen and be like, man, I need to add that to my tool shed. Let me see what that's going on and stuff like that. So as you're writing, then what's the main thing? We already know that you kind of like writing to the beats and kind of towards the production and stuff like that. And then what is your revision process like? How will you this ain't it, I'm gonna destroy this? Do you got like those beats that are like in a folder of I'll come back to this? So on the beat front, how do you handle revision? And then also on the writing aspect?
Man, so on the beat front, it comes to revising stuff. I have to mention the whip test again, because whenever I make, I have a tendency to try to make something before I leave the house. Most times when I'm in the lab, right? I'll look at the clock and be like, all right, I gotta pick up Micah from camp at 4 o'clock, right? It's 2:15, right? All right, let me see if I can knock something out. And that's for rhyming too. Sometimes, like I'll be like, all right, let me see if I can knock this out in a couple hours before I need to go, and then I can at least listen to it. I always feel the urge to make sure I have something to listen to and critique in my head while I'm on the road, while I'm driving in my car. So so when it comes to beats, that's exactly what I do. I'll make something. I know it's not going to be perfect. I just want to get a loop, a sense of a loop of it's, 4, 8 bars, or hopefully more, if depending on what kind of beat it is, whatever. And I'll just loop it up for like 32 bars, and then I'll send it to myself. I'll throw it on the cloud so I can listen to it in the car. And I'll listen for things like, man, was I too hard on that kick? Was I too hard on does the sample, is the mid-range on that sample too high that like if someone rapped on it, it won't sit in the pocket? Those things. Or is this even a rappable beat? Maybe it's just music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So those are the things I think about when I'm listening to it in the car. And I'll decipher that what I want to do. And most of the times I would think of something I could do different, whether it's just add a sound effect or maybe a transition change or should I scrap the drums? But I do feel like I've gotten proficient enough to know the right drums for a beat, so I don't have to deal with that problem too much. I think that's kind of like my little X factor that I'm very good with. But other than that, like that's pretty much what I do for the beats. But when that's just when it's me. But if I'm making beats for people, for instance, I
Yeah.
just finished the whole album with MidaZ, right? We just finished the whole
Right.
album, and um, and so there were some beats that I would send them, where I'd be like, "Yay, um, this is a beta." Like I'll put the title of the beat, like whatever number is, and I'll say beta. But basically, hey man, this is just a quick something, right? And I'll send it to him, and within like a few hours, he sends me back a name of a song. I'm like, okay, click on it. It's that beat. He already rapped on top of it as is in this beta form, and I end up rocking with just the beta, like how it was.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, the mad scientist you are. You like, oh, I gotta do a drop right here on this one, and he
No,
says that.
yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes that not all the times, but that happens. Like I'll send him like, and he'll be like, yeah, I don't think you should have, like, you don't need to like do extra production on that. It's good how it is. I'm like, all right, that's what's up. So so like that happens a couple of times, and then there's times where like I know I'm going to finish this before I even let anybody hear. Like I don't
Right.
want them to hear the beta version. That's just in the lab. That's it. So those are the ones that I'll go all out. I won't even export it until I finish it. So beat revisions are different. Some beats I just let go because it's just a vibe. I know it might not be used for like rap, but I just like listening to it. Um, you know, um, to be honest, like, people probably haven't heard more than 10 or 15% of my production at this point. I'm sitting on so much, but
Uh,
but I'll eventually just, like, I've been motivated to just put the stuff out, and so I'm
some
getting to that point.
instrumental albums, man.
Yeah, like many of them I could do. So that's for beats. As far as raps, when it comes to revising, kind of like what I mentioned before, if I lay something, sometimes I'll because I have a couple of mic setups. Like for instance, something like this, right? I have another one. This is just my first time using this one. But sometimes there's been times I'll just record the verse on like a computer mic. Like I don't feel like getting all labbed up on Pro Tools and stuff. I just
Yeah.
want to just get it out, right? So I'll do that sometimes and record into the MPC software instead of like Pro Tools or something, just to get it out, put it on a track. It'll sound rough as hell, but I just get it out so I can hear it, and then I can figure out how I'm gonna build on it from that point on. I actually did that the last track I recorded. That's what I did. And I've been listening to that version for like a week now until if I feel like tweaking anything. But I think I'm pretty good with it, so I'm gonna officially lay that verse. But yeah, that's pretty much a revision.
Do you do you do the mixing and mastering? How does that go about it? What are you doing with the mixing and mastering aspect?
So it's funny you asked that question. The timing of that question is impeccable because I never did any mastering before the last maybe actually year or two, to be honest. Um
Right.
I've been mixing for years. And that's just a self-taught thing. From mixing my own stuff and mixing my squad stuff. It, it,
Right.
Between myself and my brother and my cousin O.T.H.E.R, we were the main ones to mix all the music for all of us, and produce the music for all of us. So we all got real savvy on understanding mixing. But when it came to mastering, I didn't really dip into the science of that until recent. So so I would say
I think
officially,
a lot of people don't even know, like, it's its own separate like science after the mix, the mastering room. If you've never been in a mastering room, they got special speakers.
yep,
They're trying to do certain frequencies for the small speaker, this frequency on the gigantic speaker.
yeah,
Mastering. I sat in on the mastering of my first album,
mhm,
which I guess was dope because it was my first album,
yeah,
but I would never do it again because we're talking about hours, like 10 hours.
yeah, man.
some crazy amount of hours that it was. And I didn't know that. And then I was like, I'll never sit on mastering again, you know?
Nah, I mean, you got to be into that stuff. So, from a rapper's perspective, it's boring. It's not fun. But but those that are into mastering, I commend them. I am inspired by them. I have a couple of friends that do mastering, and they were the ones that mastered my projects. For my man Temper 3000, for instance, he mastered the Heart and Brain project, which you rapped on. Like,
Yeah.
that's my man. He works. He's an instructor at Full Sail. One of my homies from way back. Um, my man X144. He's big on mastering and has all the crazy speakers that you mentioned and stuff like that. So I've watched them a little bit and listened to what they've done, and I got an idea of mastering. At first, I was like, okay, it's basically to make it sound the best it can, the loudest it can, without distorting, without artifacts, taking out the muddy portions and all that stuff.
Right.
Like, right. But of course, there's way more involved with the frequencies and all that stuff. So I
Yeah.
dipped into that stuff. But the timing of now is that there's so many really good intuitive tools that can help you learn mastering a lot easier than back in the day. So,
Yeah.
you know, um, in some ways, you don't need all of those, like the huge, crazy setup that you used to have in the studio back in the day, all the speakers, because you can emulate those different speaker frequencies through plugins now, right?
Yeah.
So it's crazy. But I appreciate mastering. I had fun. I fully mastered the project I just did with MidaZ. I got another project with a very talented singer named Mosaic, and so I'm gonna start mixing and mastering that next month. And I look forward to mastering now, where it used to be like, I don't want to do this, but I understand it now. And now that I'm in it, I feel like I'm just gonna keep trying to grow with it. So
So
that's kind of where I'm at.
what's the beat process like when you're picking beats?
Yeah.
Um Picking beats for yourself, what is it like picking beats for yourself? And then being a producer, what is it like saying this beat fits an artist? So for
Mhm.
yourself first, and then what it's like for artists.
Gotcha. Well, I'm gonna be brutally honest on how I used to be. So being a producer MC, I was severely selfish with my production. So so like I'll make a few beats, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. And I'll be like, nah, I gotta rap on this. Like I gotta do it. You know
You
what I'm
ain't the
saying?
only one, man. You ain't the only one that did that, man. There's so many producers that do that, man. That you know it, man. You got producers that never rap ever, but the beat is so fire. Yo, my name is. They get in there. They want to give a try at it. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? Never
right.
rap, but they like this
Yeah,
beat is so fire that it'll make me sound fire. I'm about to blow. You know?
right. You know what I'm saying? Like I wonder if Pete Rock felt that way with like Soul Brother number one on like the on the first not the first album, the first album he did. What
Yeah,
was it called? Soul Controller, right?
yeah,
Because to me that was my favorite beat on the album, but maybe that's just a producer in me, right? But yeah, that's how I used to be. I used to hold on to beats that I thought were like my favorite or dopest beats, and
you ain't the
and
only one, man. So many producers did that and did themselves a disservice too.
yeah, absolutely. I get that's where I'm going with it, is that some of them got used, but a good amount of them, like I just sat on. And then eventually I hope, some beats I did get to a point where I'm like, yo, if another artist I felt like could do it, I'd be like, yo, I'll, what do you think of this or whatever, right? But but that's how it used to be years ago. But I've been way more in producer mode than rap mode sometimes. And then
Right,
in those that's when I disperse, like, like I'll send you a text with a beat real quick, like whatever, because I heard you on that, you know what I'm saying? Or
right,
Midas, I send them this, like whatever. I just sent my homie a beat that I probably could rock great myself, but I was like, yo, but he would bless that. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
so I tend to just I throw these darts out from time to time, and that I when I hear artists on them, and I just try to keep it like that. And I'm way less selfish than I used to be. I like, because you know what, I can make another beat. Like it's not a
Right.
big, you know what I'm saying? So
So do you prefer making the beats or rapping? Where we at with that?
whew, well, I released a solo album last year,
Mhm.
and leading up to that,
What's
I
the
was
name? What's the name of it? So everybody
oh
know.
yeah, it's called Other, so it's like an abbreviation, O.T.H.E.R. The Other album. So check it out. It's on all platforms. Um, you can go to Tzarizm.com, find it there on my Bandcamp. It's on Spotify, all the outlets. So definitely check out that album. I poured my heart into that album for about 3 years, with a couple of additions from stuff I just did, and I just felt like fit the album as well. But I was in super rapper mode during that time, because during the time I was working on that album, I also wrote for another album that we haven't put no dates on, so I'm not gonna throw no names or anything out. But I was writing simultaneously for my album and this other album, and I did a couple of features. So I was just in a bag of writing. But as soon as I released that solo album, I almost felt like that was like a weight off my shoulders, and then I just kind of just went right back into producer mode. So since then, I've been way more in producer mode, and like I said, I got 2 projects this year that are coming out, that are fully produced by me and everything. So that's where I'm at right now. But I've been rapping still. I've been rapping. I've been writing. Like I said, I wrote some stuff the other day, and I got stuff written that I just haven't recorded yet.
Yeah.
So it's I feel like I'm gonna have something, of a rap project probably, um realistically, probably the start of next year. Like, I'm gonna give myself enough time to let it figure itself out.
So when you're making beats and songs, are you worried about the chorus or the verse first? What gets you in that mode?
For me, it's 90% of the time is the verse. Like, um, I've never been a chorus driven, like that make the song for me, like type of person. Like the most important part of the song to me is how it starts. Like, to me, is how it starts. What are those first few words you say? Like, what, to grab that attention, like, what's the first, how's the angle gonna start? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you start it off, and where does it go from there? Like, so
Right.
that's always the hardest part for me, because I put so much stock in how it starts, that's why
Yeah.
it takes me a long time to get started sometimes, because I want to make sure those first couple of bars like are worth you listening. You know what I'm saying? So, so yeah, it's verse for me. Choruses are important, but they usually come after. Like, after I write the first verse and I vibe a little bit, then I'm like, okay, this would probably sound good with it, whatever the case is.
And then kind of going into the producer side. See, I get to answer
Yeah,
both sides.
yeah.
Uh, what about, is it drums or sample first? What are you doing? You see what I'm saying? Or no drums? Like, what's that decision like? What are you coming up with? Sample first, you rock, and then put the drums to it, vice versa.
All right, so um,
He said, "I."
so my no my formula, this is my formula, but you got the way the pro just because what I say is first is not the most important part to me, but first to me is probably the sample and the melody, right? Like, I'm like, let me get a sample or chop something up or play something out, whatever it is, I want to get that first. Establish like at least 4 bars of something, right?
Okay.
All right, so I get that. All right, cool. And then once I establish that and I see where it's going, that's what allows my head to start thinking about what's gonna knock on top of it. Like, how is the drums gonna sound on top of it? That's why the drums are usually not first for me. Like, I usually need to get, because I need to hear, like, listen, I consider myself like a chemist with drums, like a scientist, in a sense where, like, I don't just put drums on a sample just because, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it has to make sense to me. It has to feel good. It has to have like good texturing with it. Like, so, like, no shade to other producers, but when you just throw a basic on top of, you can do that on anything, right? But it doesn't make it special, right? So to me, it's gotta feel, the texture's gotta feel good, and it could be the swing and the drums, whatever the case is. Like I, I have no particular rules of how the drums are made other than just what I vibe and feel, right? But it's gotta be texturized, it's gotta feel good. And it I like to add a little bit of indifference or spice in the way the drums are hit. You you rarely will catch me, unless there's a purpose for it. You rarely catch me with just some basic drum patterns. Like unless it's unless it's the sound of it, unless it's is impactful and it feels a certain way. But I try to make it sound different. So
You use
it's usually the
drum kits, or you make your drums from scratch.
Oh, both. But I think my style was established when I think of like how I established my like style or signature. It was from creating my own drums. So like I would take drum hits, and I remember specific times where light bulbs came up on how I would just take drums and swing them. Uh, I would stereoize like certain sounds so that you only heard this on this side and that side. Sometimes with the drum roll, snare on left, right, come back in with the kick that's centered in mono, and like swing it, come back, like you know, to me. And then at some point where hi-hats weren't that important to me, like is when the freedom started happening on the drums. So um but they're like, to give you perspective on influence on the drums. I mentioned Enter the 36. So RZA being different on beats to me was a big part. But one producer that probably doesn't get mentioned a lot is DJ Shadow. DJ Shadow is like, his first instrumental album was probably one of the biggest inspirations I've had on making beats. Like,
Dope.
it's called Introducing. For those that don't know, check it out. DJ Shadow. I think it came out in 1996, maybe 95, 96. Um, and it's one of the greatest instrumental projects ever. And there's a video, one of the songs he does, where he plays the MPC. It was the first time I saw MPC in the video, and I was like, "Yo, what's that? I need one of those." And he's drumming it out. Right? I was like, man. So I wanted to make sure I emulated my drum styles of those influences. So and then whatever I do between the sample, drums, and elements, usually the last piece is the bass line. So and that's the feel good element to me. That's the like, okay, that there we go. Yeah. Like that bite, that soul comes in. So you
Isn't it
do
so wild though, man? There's a lot of people that don't do bass lines. Are like, some people don't
yo,
do no bass line no more at all. It's not even a thought. It's not even a thought.
I don't
It's
get
just,
it. I don't get it,
yeah.
man. I don't get it. I don't know if it's that producers are scared to do it. Maybe they just haven't matured enough to do them. But I highly advise producers to practice, or at least explore adding bass lines to your tracks, because that adds an element of soul and texture that you can't replace. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
Yeah.
man, it's
So
crazy.
what's your studio setup? What do you use to record? I see you got some things behind there and all that. What are you working with when it's time to record and get down?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm under construction. I actually am flipping my studio. I bought a whole bunch of new stuff, and I got some panels I got to throw on the wall and stuff like that. So that's why things are a little disarray. But um, as far as studio, I got I rock Pro Tools as far as software. I record
Okay.
99.9% of my stuff through Pro Tools when it's time to get down. Um, I got a couple of different mics. I got everything from your classic Rode NT1, which was like everybody's like inexpensive go-to mic back in the day. I got a Warm 88 joint, which is like my baby. I got this universal audio joint that I got to start like testing and doing stuff on. I got an
You just got
Apollo.
that mic, right? You just got that mic?
Yeah, a couple months ago. Yep, it's a S. It's called a what's it called? SD1. Yeah, Universal Audio SD1. And it pairs really well with like Universal Audio's Apollo audio devices, because they have the built-in plugins on the device. So it takes up less resources on your computer and all that stuff. It's all integrated. But I got the MPC live in the building. That's my baby as far as making the production. I got
MPC what?
MPC, the MPC live.
Oh, that's what it is. Because I
Yeah.
don't know. I know. Yeah, let me tell you. The other day, man, I did a interview with beat miners on
Oh,
here. Yeah, so that's one of the episodes. If y'all haven't seen it, go check it out. So I'm asking them mad production stuff. That's what it's all about.
yeah.
And we get to the set with your studio set up. So they tell me, and I try to like put stuff on the screen if you say that. So that's why I'm asking, like, so I can put it on the screen and stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Man, they said the NPC such, man. I went to the page. I'm like, yo, it's like 10 NPCs on here, man. Like,
Yeah.
2000 live, it's mad NPC. The NPC one, the
Yep.
NPC. I hadn't realized there was
Oh, crazy.
so many NPCs now. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
man.
saying? I
Yeah,
didn't realize it. And then everybody got their own. I like the one because it's portable. I like the,
mhm.
you know what I'm saying? So the NPC live is your preference.
It is my preference. They've expanded the line so much that there's basically an option for every level of producer at this point. If you want something basic to get into, you go to the MPC one or something like an MPC Studio. I Following the beat miners, I remember seeing videos of them in the studio, and I know they used to rock the. I don't know what they're currently with, but I remember seeing them having this one called the MPC Renaissance, which I know DJ Premier also rocked for a long time too. I
Yeah.
had that one. And I just actually I gave that to MidaZ a while back because he wants to try to dibble and dabble on it. But the MPC live is dope because it's a standalone. If you wanna go to the beach and rock out, it has a battery. It'll last for like 4 hours.
Oh, wow, that's ill.
Yeah, yeah, and it has a full LED computerized screen and everything. So you can rock on it standalone, or you can run it with the MPC software through the computer, which is what I preferably do. But if I need to like bounce and go somewhere and rock out, I
Yeah.
have the option. You know what I'm saying? So that's
So
my point.
so also before you go, I got like two more questions though. But
Yeah.
tell us about, man, Full Sail, right?
Mhm.
So you still work there and everything?
Yeah. Oh,
All right.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So Full Sail, a lot of people want to go there. I talk to people all the time. Some of my students,
Yeah.
things like that. What did you do at Full Sail? What are you doing? Because what's there that's available for people that want to go there and they're looking at it on the screen? Because you look at it, it looks like the Disney World for production.
Right. Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Oh yeah. Like, hope not to take a lot of your time, but I'll tell you a quick story about how Full Sail became
tell
Full
me,
Sail.
man.
So like back 2000, when I went to community college, I wasn't really a good student. Let's just put that out there, right? I wasn't finishing classes and stuff like that. Music was popping off and all that good stuff, and so I paid less attention to school. And actually, there was a brief moment where I signed up to go to the army to enlist in the army. Did the testing, did everything up to just signing a contract, and I just for some reason I backed out. But that's when the reason why I did was because that's when Full Sail became a thing. I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should just go to Full Sail and do the recording arts program. Now, at this point, I already knew a lot of self-taught stuff, right? But but that would make it official, like getting that degree or that certificate, whatever, right? So I was like, all right, let me check it out. Let me get into it. So I remember going to the tour, and just like a lot of the folks you probably you've talked to about Full Sail, they were wowed by it. It's an amazing establishment, tons of facilities that have all the good stuff, all the up to date modern stuff. So it is definitely the place you want to be to get that degree, and also learn things hands on. So anyways, I fell in love with it instantly. I put a deposit down. I applied to enroll, all that good stuff. And so I'm hype, and next thing you know, they're like, well, this is how much it costs, which is a lot of money. So I was like, okay, so I'm gonna need a cosigner. None of my parents were able to be cosigners. Um, and you know, this is a time when my mother really didn't know the potential of Full Sail. She would rather me go to like a UCF, a real university and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
um, so she wasn't really too hyped to want to help me anyway. anyway, but
Yeah.
so it was kind of a dream lost. Now, all of my homeboys, like a few of them, I'll say a few of them did end up going. Like my man, Jason, who's Temper 3000. I mentioned him earlier. He did the mastering for me. He went. My man, my man DJ Dolo, he went, and a couple other homeboys, they went. They graduated, and then they ended up working as instructors there. So you know, all this is happening while I'm doing what I'm doing, and they come back to me like, "Yo, Czar, like you ain't have to go, man, because you know all the stuff here, man." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, all right, no, but I still wanted to get the education, you know,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So so it was like one of those dreams that I was like, man, I wish I could have fulfilled that. So, anyways, you know, when I did go to school, I did go to school for computer science. So, because I was all about computers, I jumped right into the field of computer jobs. I got tech support jobs, all this stuff for a good solid 8, 9 years. Then my homeboy, who who went to Full Sail during the same time that I wanted to go, became an instructor and all that good stuff. And ended up like kind of moving up to a DC, which is the department chair. Um, he hit me up, was like, "Yo, you got you got the experience, you got the real life, this and that. We got a position if you're interested in trying to go for it." I was like, there's a lab instructor. Oh, I was like, all right, this is worth his trying. So I did it, you know, sent the resume in. The HR hit me up like, "Yeah, we'd like to have an interview with you." I was like, "Okay, cool." Did the interview. They loved it. I loved them. Did a second interview. Boom. Next, you know, they offered me to work there. And I was like, this is kind of crazy that I wanted to go to school here, right? Couldn't afford it,
Right.
and now they want to hire me to work there because of the experience I gained during that time since I couldn't go to school, right? Because between that time, I was also doing a lot of music. I I,
Right.
I was in New York for a few years. I came back, so I have all these experiences and you know, producing and mixing and all this stuff, right? So and releasing music. So so that was kind of funny to me. But what was also funny was that um as an employee, I also get the opportunity to go to school to Full Sail for free.
Wow.
So I was like, let's do it. So I you know, I left this world of computer science and started being an instructor. And once I got myself comfortable and settled in, I decided to pursue a degree. And so I completed it while I was being an instructor at Full Sail. And that's one of the best decisions I could have made in my life, right? So that's which has allowed me to get promoted eventually to course director, and that's where I'm at right now. So now I manage classes, I lecture, you know, I take care of issues, you know, all types of stuff, you know, that a course director would do. Um, and it's been 12 years so far, 12 years. So it's the longest gig I ever had in my life. I love it. Full Sail is a great place for those that want to go. Yes, it's expensive, but you know, just like anything, if you put your heart into it and you really want it, like it'll get you places. If in the industries that Full Sail gets you educated in, because um, a lot of people probably slept on Full Sail in the early 2000s, or you know, when it first came out, thinking that
Yeah.
it was not an official establishment for education. It won't, you know, this and that. It's for hobby type interests and industries, but um, but Full Sail was a pioneer in knowing that that was the direction everything was going. Everything
Right.
is media driven. Everything, you know, is in that direction. Technology advances left and right every day. Every day there's something new, and Full Sail was on top of that. So, um, so you know, it's crazy. That story, I tell my students that story all the time. But Full Sail is an amazing place to work at, and also to get an education. And I am truly blessed that I was able to get my foot in the door and grow up in it. You know what I'm saying? So
Dope,
it's been
man.
dope.
I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
Three artists you recommend us to listen to. It could be three albums, three anything. It could be three of your songs, three of your albums, whatever. Just three things to listen to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I have to say myself, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah, yeah, definitely check out Tzarizm music. you know.
Anything in particular, like a certain one? Because even though we be having catalogs, there do be certain joints that's like, yo, you know what I mean?
Right. I would say my last album, I'm very proud of it. So the other album, definitely check it out. Um, that was a big one for me. It's a mixture of hungry MC that I used to be, but more mature. The sound is more mature, and there's a good variety of stuff on there for real hip hop heads. So I
Dope.
would go with that. Other than that, recommendations. Let's see. What I've been rocking with lately. Well, I mean, I mean, I'm a big Doom fan, so for those that haven't listened to MF Doom, you should. If you really care about lyrics and listening to lyrics, that's one guy that'll have your head wrapped for a long time listening to his music, because the intricacies of how he's able to tell a story or in a don't care matter is just some of the most amazing stuff to me. So like particularly, I mentioned the albums that I could be on the island with, but I'll have to throw Mad Villainy as one of those too.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite albums of all time. Madlib, who's one of my favorite producers of all time. So yeah, Mad Villainy. I have to endorse that all times. Other than that, let's see. Anything that's more fresh and new.
It could be anytime. Anytime
Anytime.
period. Yeah, anytime period.
Mm,
Any genre too.
okay. So, dang. For production, or because mentioning my favorite production stuff, I mentioned DJ Shadow earlier, so that that's a mid-90s stuff, but I do feel like he's been slept on and he's not recognized for being a pioneer. So introducing, that's END, like end introducing.
Okay.
Amazing album. Um, anybody that just loves listening to music and beats, not even hip hop, like just listening to music in the background, chilling, like stuff to just like that album to me is one of the greatest ever. So I would definitely have to throw that in the mix as something to go back and do the knowledge on. DJ Shadow's huge influence on me. So there we got DJ Shadow introducing.
Yep.
We got Mad Villain, Mad Villainy, and then the other album by Tzarizm.
All
So
right, man.
that'll be my three.
So, man, before we go, let's get your social media handles and all of that stuff. Everything you need, people to contact you and everything.
Absolutely. Pretty much everything. Go at TZARIZM. So at Tzarizm. That's on Instagram. Also Facebook.com/Tzarizm. You'll find my artist page there. And then just a quick plug, but I just actually officially started my business called TZ Media LLC.
Okay,
And
dope. Congratulations.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And it's focused on more motion and video content. So whether it's filming as little as like filming an interview, or if you need like landscaping videos for like your real estate, or if you need a music video, I'm open and for business for all that stuff. So um
I need
uh,
music videos, man. I gotta talk to you, figure that out with you.
yeah, come holler at me, man. Let's do it.
I
Let's do it.
am, I am.
Yeah, man. I just shot a couple, one with MidaZ, an artist from Germany. I just did one for him. And actually I just I was hired as well, but I just shot a family reunion. Um so I got a few things going on and a couple of
Okay.
editing projects. So yeah, TZ Media. So I also have that on Instagram. I just started that profile recently. So check that out and keep that on the radar. Hit me up on at Tzarizm, even if it's for music or if it's for video content, whatever it is, whatever your flavor is, just hit me up. I'm all game.
Yeah, he's on Instagram and everything, man.
Yes, sir.
Well, yo, Zar, man, I want to show my appreciation for knowing you, being a friend, being creative. You even motivated me as far as on the education and trying to figure out how to merge the passion because you've been doing that 12 years. I've been teaching 10. So you've
Yeah.
been doing it before me, and it motivated me to figure out this aspect and realm of, man, he's teaching and doing what he loves over there. How do I figure that out too? So,
Uh,
man, it's dope, man.
Appreciate you.
just to be able to like watch the growth and the evolution of what you've done, and still to be able to sustain doing it at a high level and still enjoy doing it and putting out dope music. So I would really like to show my appreciation for you with that. So make sure everybody, you guys, holla at ZAR, man. He's on Instagram and everywhere else. And like I always say to y'all out there, what are your words worth? Peace.
Let's do it. Peace, y'all.
Man, thank you, man.